Welcome to the village of Thomasburg. We are here about halfway between Belleville and Tweed. Actually, the highway bypasses Thomasburg, so most of us would never have come into the village, would never have driven through Thomasburg itself. When you do drive through Thomasburg, you'll see it's a very quiet, very residential community, but it wasn't always that way. If you could go back in your mind 150 years, back to the 1870s, you would have found a bustling community filled with shops, with people in the streets, with horses and wagons and maybe the odd carriage, women going to the general store, children going up the hill to the schools. By the late 1800s, however, with the depletion of the forest, with the mining industry closing down just north of here, Thomasburg, as with many other villages around here, went into a period of decline. And then with the arrival of the 1900s, with the improvements in the roads, with the automobile coming on scene, there was even more decrease in activity in the villages and the closing of some of the businesses, leaving what we have basically today as a residential area. One other important fact, almost all settlements in our area were beside rivers. Belleville and Tweed on the Moira, Madoc on Deer Creek, Marmora on the Crow River, Bancroft on the York River, Trent Port, which became Trenton of course, on the Trent River. These rivers powered the mills to grind the grain for the farmers, to saw the lumber in order to put up houses and buildings, and even woolen mills to work the raw wool into yarns and fabrics. But that was not the case here in Thomasburg, a very special situation. So we're very pleased to have with us today our local resident and historian, Violetta Welsh, who is going to tell us what was that special feature in Thomasburg and how this community was established and how it grew.
In the early 1920s, there was a surveying team under the direction of Samuel Benson. And in this particular surveying team was a young fella. He was 18 years of age. His name was Thomas Clare, and he was a chain bearer. There is a rock just behind me over there, and that exact rock is where Thomas Graham with his party rested, and they noticed some bubbling water coming up at the base of this very unusual large rock. It was pure cold spring water. So Thomas Clare made note of it, and he never forgot it. He came back approximately 10 years later in 1830 with his wife Elizabeth, traveling with oxen and their belongings, and they built their homestead, which is now our home, my family's homestead, right across the road. More settlers followed Thomas Clare, including Thomas Graham and Thomas Nickel, and they also brought their families and settled at adjacent corners surrounding this beautiful spring. And they made their homes and lives, and many more followed. And what was really exciting was this town boomed. And by 1878, there was a population of 200 people coming and going, gathering water here at the spring.
This very interesting history which Violetta has presented to us has been memorialized in a plaque right here in the middle of Thomasburg in a very pretty park. So while you are following this itinerary through the villages of Hastings County, stop in Thomasburg, take a look at the village, read the historical plaque, and let your imagination go back to those early pioneer days when this was a bustling community.